Hello there guys, this is Rob. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you are having a fantastic day, and today is January 31st, the last day of January. Holy freaking smokes, we've made it here so quickly in 2024, but that also means that tomorrow is February 1st, and as many of us might know, if you've been following the internet conversation around Nintendo and video games, a lot of people think a Nintendo Direct is going to be happening in the next week or two. Now, of course, it goes without saying that every year most of us expect to see a Nintendo Direct happen in February, or at least very early on in the year. We've certainly had some January Nintendo Directs as well, but I think the more recent cadence has shown us that February is usually the time they try to drop their first big announcements for the year, maybe set up what their upcoming year is going to look like, at least until the Summer Direct that we also traditionally get. And so because of that, there are rumors and people claiming that maybe there are a leak or two surrounding a Nintendo Direct in February. The date that I've heard people throwing around is February 7th. I don't know if it's anything worth believing or not, but what I will say is that just as a fan in this space and as a YouTuber who's been doing this for a long time, I certainly do personally expect that we will see a Nintendo Direct happen in February. But what I want to talk about with you guys specifically today has to do with just how needed it is for Nintendo to have a Nintendo Direct in February, whether or not it's something that they can get away without doing, or if it really is important for them to address us this early in the year, especially knowing that it's a year that a lot of us are expecting to see next generation hardware. And if that is part of Nintendo's plan, like we are predicting, then maybe it is important for them to consider either addressing that early in the year, like in a February Direct, or for them to use a February Direct to get the last of their Switch-only announcements out of the way so that the first time they address us after a February Direct, they would actually be revealing next-generation hardware. Quick reminder that I am hoping to cross 25,000 subscribers on the channel, and I do hope to do that sometime over the next few months. I probably average anywhere from 1 to 3 videos every single week talking about Nintendo and gaming stuff and a whole heck of a lot of Metroid and also the Legend of Zelda. So if this is your first video on the channel, then I would hope you consider subscribing, or if you've been watching for a while and not subscribed, then I hope this video finally convinces you to do so. So to just answer the actual question being posed in this conversation, is it needed or necessary for Nintendo to have a Nintendo Direct in the month of February? And trying to be impartial, because I'm a fan that always wants to see a new Nintendo Direct, I think I can still confidently say, in a perfect world, yes, they would have a Direct in February. And like I already even said, I'm already anticipating one anyway, so this isn't even as much about whether or not they will or won't. It's just about the value of having a Nintendo Direct, specifically in February of 2024, this year, next month, maybe even next week or the week after. There's really no point in beating around the bush any further because, like I already mentioned in the intro here, we're all thinking about the Switch 2, man. We're looking forward to the next generation. The time feels right. The stars feel aligned. The slowing sales of the Nintendo Switch, the slowing down of the library and upcoming games that we know about coming to the Switch, and just the simple age of the console, all of these things point to this being the ideal time, and by this time I mean 2024. All things are pointing to 2024 being the ideal time for Nintendo to show us new hardware and also probably, hopefully, release it. Plenty of stories and believable rumors have come out. There's plenty of non-believable rumors too, of course, but some more believable rumors and things that I've heard are pointing to like a September or an October release for the console. And I think if I was to predict, which I've said in past videos as well, I think that before summer, they're going to reveal the Switch 2, and sometime after summer, maybe in late summer or early fall, September, October, November, they might look at releasing the Switch 2. I think all of that can happen over the course of the next 6 to 8 months. And so, of course, the value of the Nintendo Direct in February would be twofold. Maybe you could even say threefold, okay? One reason you would do it in February is to talk about the games that we already know you're making. The big games we know to expect so far in 2024, they're obviously mostly Mario Universe titles. We've talked about that quite a bit. We're looking at Princess Peach, we're looking at Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, and we're looking at the Paper Mario remake, as well as Mario vs. Donkey Kong, which I think is coming out in the next week or two itself. And so February, early in the year, becomes the perfect time to just talk about the games that we already know about. The other thing that they could theoretically do is reveal new games. And I'm talking about even new games for the current Switch. You know, the one that we've all been playing, whether it's the Switch or the Switch Lite or the OLED, it's the same general console we've had for the past, 7, almost 8 years now. And I think that if there's anything that they're planning to release solely on the Switch this year that we don't know about, and I'm sure there are things, even if it's third-party games and indie games, a February Nintendo Direct is also a great time for them to talk about those things, which we all think they probably would do. But then, of course, the third thing, so when I said this is threefold, this is what I mean. The third thing is talking about the next hardware, Would they talk about or reveal or confirm that they're even working on something in a February Direct? I think it is possible. I wouldn't necessarily call it likely. I feel like they would either make it the big focus of a Nintendo Direct and be very forthcoming. Hey, next week, February, whatever date, we're going to be telling you about the Switch 2. Tune into this Nintendo Direct. Or they'll have a normal February Direct, but maybe they will do a brief discussion at the very end. Maybe they'll spend 2 minutes at the end with Takahashi or Koizumi or even like Doug Bowser, actually saying, hey, it's time to let you know, we might not be ready to show it to you today, whatever the conversation they want to have, but we're ready to let you know. We are working on the next thing. It's coming in 2024, and we will have more to tell you very soon. That is the Nintendo way for them to just kind of eke out big information without giving us the goods. So like I said, they could basically go in the extreme of both directions. Just make it a full-on Switch 2 blowout and let us know several days ahead of time that that's what it's going to be. Or just a slight tease at the end with no real details and just the promise, a verbal promise, that we're going to talk about it soon. Nintendo does that with a lot of their big games and big topics often. If you think about it and replay Nintendo Direct announcements in your head, you might realize that is something that they do. And so that's part of, again, the value of a February Nintendo Direct. Of course, it wouldn't feel right of me to have a conversation like this and not address Metroid Prime 4 in some way, because as I like to joke with you guys, I feel like that's what I was put on Earth and on YouTube to do, is to talk about Metroid and keep you guys excited about the franchise. And Metroid Prime 4 is the big mamma jamma we've been waiting for so long. We just had the 5-year anniversary of the reboot. We're coming up on the 7-year anniversary of the reveal of the game in June of 2017. It is crazy. And so a February Direct does hold the possibility of a Metroid Prime 4 re-reveal. That might be maybe their big new game reveal if it fits into their plans and their marketing scheduling and everything around a Switch 2. Because either the game is only Switch, in which case it would be a great time to just reveal the Switch-only version of that game, or if it is going to be cross-generational and maybe it's part of the Switch 2 marketing and Switch 2 launch, I feel like Nintendo is in a position where they could either hold off the reveal and wait until they've already revealed the Switch 2 to show us that game, or they could just reveal the Switch version of Metroid Prime 4, knowing that in the future, when they also then reveal the Switch 2, they could then say, oh, and by the way, remember when we showed you Metroid Prime 4 in February? Well, it's also going to be coming to the Switch 2, and here's a look at what the next-gen version of Metroid Prime 4 will look like as well. So I'm doing my due diligence as like self-proclaimed biggest Metroid fan in the world and on YouTube to make sure that I address the Metroid Prime 4 scenario around a February Direct that, again, we all think probably will happen. It's not confirmed yet. It's not announced, like I've said. But if it's going to happen on February 7th or any other date next month in the coming weeks, I think that we need to start keeping our eyes peeled, you guys, for every new Nintendo announcement and every new Nintendo Direct, for them to finally address and actually reveal Metroid Prime 4. And so, yes, to the point of this whole conversation, I think that they might be open to pulling the veil back on that game in a February Direct very soon. Plenty of other things we could try to predict as far as a Nintendo Direct. There's conversation around GameCube games coming to Nintendo Switch Online. Naturally, we've been waiting for even word on Metroid Primes 2 and 3, let alone Metroid Prime 4, as far as ports to the Switch, or Zelda the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, these port conversations and remaster conversations that we've all been having for a while, myself included, just beyond new games, right? So all of those things could fit into it, but I just really wanted to specifically carve out, a minute or two to talk about the Metroid Prime 4 scenario, because I want 2 and 3, Primes 2 and 3 very badly on the Switch, but I own 2 copies of all 3 of the first Prime games. I have Wii and GameCube copies of all of them. So I don't really need those games necessarily to come to the Switch, even though I want them, especially if they give them a visual upgrade. But the thing I'm mostly focused on, of course, is Metroid Prime 4. And so that's why I hope that there's a chance that a February Direct could contain some Metroid Prime 4 information in some capacity as well. And again, it ties into the Switch 2 in such a weird way, all based on speculation, none of it based on fact. Most people pretending to leak things on Twitter and 4chan and Reddit are not legitimate, so don't focus too much attention on them. It's fun to look at that stuff and read it and consider it, and obviously sometimes I talk about them on the channel here, but let's just focus on what we know. And what we know right now, to be fair, probably 10 or 15 minutes into this video, is nothing. We don't know anything. We don't know if there's a Nintendo Direct. We don't know if the Switch 2 is coming this year. We don't know if Metroid Prime 4 is going to be re-revealed soon. But I think that we think all 3 of those things will be happening. I know that I do. I think we're getting a February Direct. I think the Switch 2 is releasing this year. And yeah, I think Metroid Prime 4 will bare minimum be revealed this year, if not also released this year. But again, I am just a fan and a YouTuber who's just using my fanship to just speculate and talk about it for fun and get the ideas bouncing around in your guys' heads, okay? I don't like to be a guy to try to start rumors and leaks and do that with my channel. And if you've been following me for any length of time over the past decade I've been doing this, you probably already know that. I keep things very close to the vest, and I like to talk from a fan perspective and from a speculation perspective. That's most interesting and fun to me. And it's always seemed like you guys really enjoy that stuff. So I think there's not much more to say. It's an exciting time. My mind is blown. January is basically over, so there's that whole element. Like, whoa, slow the frickin' clock down, 2024. It's way too fast. But going into February makes me excited at the possibility of a Nintendo Direct or a Metroid Prime 4 trailer or something like that. So this is what I think. These are the values I see to Nintendo doing a Direct. I mean, I probably should have talked more about what happens if they don't do a Direct. Maybe it doesn't fit into their plans simply because if there are next-gen reveal and release elements to their 2024 calendar, then maybe a February Direct doesn't fit into them. So the one thing I'll say near the end here, and I sure hope you make it this far into the video, is that if we don't see a Direct in February, I actually think that would almost add more fuel to the conversation around a Switch 2 this year than if they do have one. Because I would think they would only skip their kind of traditional February Direct because, again, the way they're probably planning their marketing cycle around a whole new generation and the games for that new generation might mean a February Direct could get in the way. I mean, maybe it wouldn't, and so that's why we would see it. But if we don't see it, what if that's the reason why? So tough to say, but again, I think that they do need one. They need to address this early in the year. They probably want to, and I think they're going to. So that's what I have to say about that. Share your own thoughts on this whole thing below. It's a very exciting time, of course. And again, I'll remind you, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so we can keep talking about this stuff together. And with that, the video's a wrap, and I'll see you guys next time on another video. Bye-bye.